everybody, and welcome to another episode of the What Podcast Wellness, Health, Advocacy, and Transparency. And I'm your host, Kazan Allen, filling in for Dr. Sheffield, and we have an amazing, exciting episode today. So let me meet our guests. We have Justin and a FAMU alumni, Chazriq Clarke. It's nice to meet y'all guys.
Nice
Yes,
to meet
nice to meet
you.
you.
So, if y'all don't know who Justin or Chadwick is, they have a movie which have did a screening at the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Science and Institute of Public Health recently, and the movie is called Him Plus, and you can watch it on Tubi right now. So, can y'all guys give me a little description or details on the movie?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yes, greetings everyone. I am Chazriq Clarke, a two-time graduate of FAMU,
Two
and Him Plus is essentially a two-time, yes, two-time. But Him Plus follows Chris, which is played by Justin Banton, and he's essentially navigating life after some difficult news. He finds out he's HIV positive, and just navigating that with friends, family, and faith.
Mhm.
So, since you mentioned the movie talks about topics like HIV, so what is the importance of shining light on what's the importance of shining light on HIV and AIDS, especially in communities of color?
Mhm. I could take that one.
Hmm.
I feel like the importance is one, it just needs to be talked about because I feel like Black and Brown communities don't necessarily talk about it.
Yeah.
Up until we're in that situation, and sometimes it's not the fact that it's too late, it's just the fact that how could we have prevented it, you know? So I think it's very, very important to bring this up in our communities and talk about how can we make what are the preventative ways so that we don't fall into this pattern. Also, it's important to talk about it because you don't want it to continue to live with this 1980s stigma of it only affecting uh, gay people. You
Yeah.
know, it affects all people, no matter who you are, no matter what color you are, no matter what language you speak. It's just very important that we're we're talking about it in all of these different communities just so that we can prevent it or we can just help people just
Mhm.
figure it out for themselves, So,
Well, as you guys know, movies and books and TV shows, they teach people lessons and they give guidance to people who are broken. That's how people like get so much wisdom, understanding, especially if we look at TV shows like Pose. They
yeah.
give education, especially with queer communities and HIV and AIDS. So my next question is for you, Chazrick. As a FAMU alumni, how does your experience at university influence your voice as a writer and a storyteller?
Yes, I graduated with my bachelor's in theater performing arts, and through having classes in theater, I had a few classes post grad in film school at UCLA. I think those two experiences kind of showed me that storytelling doesn't always have to just be about like fun and entertaining. A lot of times it can be about education, it can be empowerment, it can be informing people about things that are kind of serious, and in this case, very serious. So
Mhm.
I feel like during my time at FAMU experiencing different shows like Blood at the Root or I feel like Blood at the Root is probably the main one of like storytelling done in a way that shifts how people think about
Mhm.
different things and their perspectives, and that is kind of what pushed him plus to into creativity.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there any like inspirations that came with you writing him plus?
Um, Inspiration. I love that you brought up Pose because my
Mhm.
roommates and I definitely watched all seasons in our living room. And I think that show just showed showcased HIV in a way that felt
Mhm.
relatable to people.
Mhm.
And I feel like because it was, ballroom and a lot of different cultures all in one, it was something that was, palatable, it was understandable, it was you were going with the story and understanding that this is a reality. But I think for the film side, I didn't really have like a movie that was necessarily the inspiration. But Justin was actually just talking about what was the name of the film? Angels.
Angels in America.
Angels in America. So I
Hmm.
definitely have to watch that to kind of see the similarities in that.
Okay, so my question is for you, Justin. When you first read the script, what stood out to you about Chris, who is the main character of the film?
What stood out to me the most was the aspect of love.
Mm,
Love was mentioned in the car scene was actually my audition
mm,
for Him Plus. Um, and that specific scene, I think what drew me to the script was the love because I was able to just get into the nitty gritty. It wasn't necessarily about him having HIV, but it was just about who is going to want to love me when I have this disease, you know? And how do I navigate life having this disease? How am I going to navigate my love life having this disease, you know? And it was just about Chris understanding, uh, he's living with that stigma of just my life is over. But nowadays, you can live life long. You know what I mean? When you have HIV, because there's pills, there's so many ways that you could just go about life. But what really drew me to the script was the aspect of love. And even when you get into that scene with Chris and Mark, his mentor, that aspect of love is definitely showcased in that scene. So, mhm,
As an actor, I know it can be quite hard to put yourself mentally in that headspace.
mhm,
And how did you prepare yourself to step into that space? Like, what was your spiritual journey? And
mhm,
did any like major emotional breakthroughs came through in that
mhm,
scenes or any important scenes in that
mhm.
film?
Some of the breakthroughs that I had was, I think it started with when I was learning about HIV in general. I've done pieces where I played a character that had HIV, but this one was very different
Yeah.
because I have friends that do have HIV, and it was me speaking to them and asking them questions about what are you doing? How are you sustaining your life? And they shared a bunch of tips. They shared all their medications. I was able to watch people on YouTube and listen to their testimonies about like how they got the disease, how are they moving through life with that disease. Those sort of things were my breakthrough. And it was just me sitting there empathizing with these people and listening to them. So then I mean, it's very difficult doing um, emotional scenes, but I've also been trained as an actor where I don't take it home and I don't let it linger. I let it linger for the scene if I have to, but I don't let it linger into my personal life. There's this technique that I learned, which is called lucid body. I learned this from my teacher at FSU. Her name is Monica Gossman, and that practice, you focus on your chakras and you use your chakras to create a full dimensional character. And one of them is your it's like an imploded heart, which is basically it represents sadness. Tapping into that chakra for the moment, I'm able to just tap in and then tap out when I'm done. So I didn't necessarily take it home with me, but just understanding that I didn't want to make it a sob story either. I wanted to also make sure that Chris had somewhere to go, how he was going to navigate life. So,
My
mhm,
next question is to you, Chazriq, as the writer. There's a lot of trauma type films and TV shows in media. What makes this special film different than a trauma piece, which all black people have watched
mhm,
before?
Yeah, and I think that's very powerful to talk about because I
Hmm.
think trauma is something that a lot of times, especially as a Black and Brown community, we
Yeah.
kind of focus on a lot of the traumas we've experienced, whether through slavery, whether, whatever it is, we've experienced a lot of trauma. But I
mhm,
think what makes him plus different is that there's an arc of Chris's character, well, Chris, and he essentially at the end, I feel like finds some solace and some peace and, essentially like a happy ending.
mhm,
And I feel like a lot of times that's what's missing in a lot of trauma pieces. So just that happy ending.
mhm,
And this question to go to both of y'all. How do
mhm,
you define healing when life does not get back to normal?
mhm.
Mm. That's a great
Wow.
question.
That was a
It's
Thank you.
great
powerful.
question. Come on.
Mhm.
Can you say that question one more time? How do you define healing?
When life doesn't get back to normal.
I think it comes from, like we
Wow.
talked about earlier, of love and community. I
Mhm.
think,
Mhm,
especially with Chris's character, because he had people around him, it was a sense of, things may not be the same, but the same people who loved me before this love me after. And I think that's essentially
mhm,
how you find healing in I guess coming to terms with your new life.
Mhm.
Wow. You have me thinking like I'm in deep thought over here because
Mhm.
um I agree with Chaz. Your community is everything.
Mhm.
But, one thing like personally, like I've dealt with a loss in my family. And speaking to my aunts and uncles, they were talking about how are you going to go on alone because you're going to have your community, but then
Mm.
your community won't always be there.
Me
Yeah.
there.
That was very difficult to like process. So I don't know. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's a hard question. That's a hard question for me to answer. But you really do have to rely on your community. So I would just second what Chad said, relying on your community. But yeah, that's a deep one. Yeah.
Steve.
My next question. So, y'all brought up a community. So, I don't want to know who in your life is your community when life is hard.
Mm,
Mm. Well, personally, um, and I guess now that I've actually met Justin and a lot of people from the cast, they
Mm,
are my community at this point.
mm,
But prior to meeting them, I think a lot of my peers from college, like to this day, granted, I'm a little old. I graduated 4 years ago, but we still keep in contact.
mm,
We still check up on each other. We still go on trips. We go to homecoming. We enjoy things in life that while we're in undergrad, we kind of took for granted, being like, oh, it's 4 years, it's gonna go by so fast. I got this going on. But I think when you actually graduate and have that experience of, no, y'all really are my community, and I have to lean on y'all more now than ever with so much going on in the world. And even if we're not in the same space, we can make time for each other.
yeah. I would say my community just started being Chaz. Like Chaz is amazing. Being able to talk to Chaz, like he is like that's my bestie right there.
mm,
Period.
Yeah, right. Before that, I would say that my community was my brothers because I grew up, my dad wasn't necessarily around like that. So I did have my two older brothers. I'm the youngest. So I had my two oldest brothers who are like a yin yang, so I get like a devil and an angel sometimes. But they are my community whenever I'm going through anything. Like it might be hard to talk to my mom, or because of my relationship with my dad, it might be hard to talk to my dad. So relying on my brothers, and I think that's why I feel like me and Chaz get along really well because I'm like Chaz is like my older brother right now, you know? So I love him.
Not you making me old,
No,
Jesus. But I
not
see,
no, no,
yes.
no, no, no. My older brother, because I'm the youngest. Yeah, that's why.
Mm.
So, for like any listeners who have HIV or any sexual health diagnosis, or even the queer community, what do you want them to hear?
Mm. That life,
Um, Go ahead, go ahead.
that life still goes on, and you can still live a regular life, you know? And it's important to go through whatever feelings you're going through because, going back to that question of how do you define healing, like healing is an ongoing journey. When people talk about
Mhm.
grief is an ongoing journey that you're always going to be going through, you know? So it's just about have your days where you are in a rut and you are feeling your feelings so that you can finally dig yourself up out of that hole so that you can keep moving on with life. Because
Mhm.
one thing you don't want to do is throw away the rest of your life just because
Yeah.
of one thing. You know what I
Right.
mean? There's something about resilience, you know?
Mhm.
The Black community I think that we're like the beacons for resilience because we've been through so much trauma, you know? So it's so important for us to just make sure that we're not letting just one major thing define the rest of our life, you know? And even Mark says it. He's like, Chris, don't let this define the rest of your life. You still
Mhm.
have so much life to go on. And you just found out that you were sick less than 24 hours ago. You know what I mean? So it's really just about remembering I can take on life regardless of my circumstances. That's what I hope
Mhm.
people take away from this film.
Right. Just echoing Justin's thoughts. I think healing is a journey that people think has to be linear, and it's
Hmm.
not. Like it's a lot of
Hmm.
ups and downs. You have your great days, you have your down days. But one of the lines in the script that I love from Mark as well is we make our own lives. No one else does. And I think that's something that kind of shows a little bit to the stigma aspect of it as well, of what Chris was experiencing, but
Hmm.
also just understanding that at the end of the day, it's not what other people say, it's what I say. So
Hmm.
I feel like just having that understanding that life still goes on. This isn't the end of the world. It's not the end of your life. And you got to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amen to that. So my last question is, what's next for both of y'all? How do y'all will continue to like do plan to tell stories, either just writing or starring in films or TV shows? So what's next?
I'm gonna let the superstar go first. Hello.
Um, what's next? I'm just hoping that, Him Plus, I want to ride the wave of Him Plus,
Mm,
doing more premieres, hopefully, and just being able to talk to people, do more interviews, just so that we can get Him Plus out, but also get the word out. Just finding a community, you know what I mean, for Him Plus, and for people to feel seen through Him Plus, you know? So that's what I just want to continue to spread this message about destigmatizing the stigma, you know? So that's what I want to do. That's what's next. So
I love it. I love it. And I agree. I agree. I mean, I have a lot of other projects that I would want to work on in the future, but I
yeah.
think in this current state, like especially this year and the next year, I feel like
Mhm.
just essentially keep continue to push him. Plus,
Mhm.
even it being out on Tubi, I love that. But I feel like I want to kind of get into those spaces where it's like this is the community we're speaking to. We have a lot of other stuff coming up, like working with other companies like Glad and
Mhm.
Gilead, and we actually just got reached out by Bliss Cares. So I feel like having other companies and nonprofits reach out to us saying like, "Hey, we heard about your film. We would love to showcase it, or even just have a conversation around it, a talk back, anything." I thought all those things are really important. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
amazing. I'm so happy y'all both came on Zoom and did an episode of the What Podcast. I really appreciate it. I know Dr. Sheffield was begging to see y'all here. She kept on telling me, we need them, we need them. So I'm just happy I made time. So that's it for the What Podcast. And don't forget to like, comment, and share. And if you know anyone who has HIV or any sex related health diagnosis, let them know that they are loved and it's not the end of the world. Thank you, and hope we see you for the next episode. Bye.